This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
To the latest edition of the Away End. I'm Craig Courtney, and this evening I am joined by Ben from the QPR podcast W12. So, Ben, thank you very much for joining us and sparing us some time.
No worries. Thanks for having me on. Could talk football and QPR all day, so yeah.
Always good. That's what fans do. So, tell us a little bit about your podcast. You know, how long you've been going and sorts of things that you're into.
W12 podcast, which is obviously the postcode of QPR, Loftus Road. We've been going for about 4 years now. It started as like a lockdown, a way to chat about football and QPR with everything that was going on. It wasn't meant to be anything huge. And then a friend knew Ilias Chair, who still plays for us now, and we did a podcast with him, and then we've not really looked back now. And like I said, we're on TalkSport. I'd argue we're probably the most listened to QPR podcast, but I don't know. Maybe others will say tell different. But yeah, we have had ex-players. We've had Neil Warnock, Harry Redknapp, Les Ferdinand. We've had loads. So yeah, it's going really well.
I see. You've just mentioned one name that I would love to get on the show, so I'm definitely going to be contacting you around him, and that's Harry Redknapp. We do very similar ourselves, to be honest. We've been going for 13 seasons now, talk. But through lockdown, we actually decided to broadcast throughout. So even with no football, what we did was we carried on. And our live show on a Monday evening, we started getting guests on, and they were the ex-players. And it just gave, I think, an opportunity, like you say, to talk football, but also a little bit of a way to get away from the strange area and time that it was. And that, feedback we had was that hour has just helped people. And we still continue with the guests nowadays as well. So our last show, in fact, we had Stephen Gleeson join us, which was an eye opener. So yeah, we got the Good Friday game, massive one for both clubs. For ourselves, the return of Gary Rowett, albeit on a temporary basis. Yourselves, you're on a bit of a run, and get yourselves away from what looked like a very dire situation at one point. I mean, what was you going into the season? What were your thoughts? Where did you think you would be, and did you think you'd ultimately be fighting a relegation battle again?
We had Gareth Ainsworth at the start of the season, and he sort of brainwashed, I think, the fans and even the players into thinking that we were going to be in a relegation battle. And we've got, I think everyone down there says it, but when you look at our 11, I don't think it should be anywhere near the bottom three personally. Anywhere near any relegation, certainly not where Ainsworth had us, which was second from bottom for the first 3 months of the season, where we were so poor. I mean, I don't even know how we managed to win a game. We won a couple, I think, but I don't know how. I did think that it could be a tight season. We were in a third year FFP cycle, so a real tight year this year. So we knew that finances were going to be tight. We lost some big players in the summer with some big loans. We didn't loan anyone in the summer, so we had 0 loans, which is crazy, really. We relied too much on the youth. We had injuries, and it was all just a bit of a mess, really. And Gareth Ainsworth had to go. It took too long. He was a bit of a legend, and I think the board liked him and kept him on for too long. Mm-hmm. But since Martin's come in, we've been a different team. He's clawing back sort of 8-9 points that we were adrift when he came in. We're now 1 point above the relegation. We should be loads more. So it's going to be really interesting. We're in it now. So, I think these next 8 games, I wouldn't put any money on any team going down or staying up. I literally don't know.
It's a strange one, because the top half of the league, we all thought Leicester were going to run away with it, and now Leeds, what a run they're on. But yeah, that bottom half, I mean, I don't see it as 3 teams involved, or even 4 or 5. There's more than 8 or 9 teams, if not 10, that are still in this battle to stay in the league. And similar to yourself, really. I mean, when I look at the start of our season, we didn't have the best of starts, but then we went on a bit of a run, and under Eustace got ourselves into sixth, made a decision to move Eustace on, who I know obviously QPR links as well. But to move him on and then get Rooney and then just go on the run that we have has not helped. Get Tony Mowbray in, awesome. Start picking things up. Unfortunately, lose him to illness, and as every Birmingham fan will say, get well soon, Tony. See you in the summer. And same for Mark Venus there as well. And now we go with Gary Rowett and the return of Rowett for a job for me that he's got an unfinished business at the club, and I think this will be his opportunity to sign off, shall we say, where he should have done in the first place. But he's brought back some great names as well, and I mean, namely captain who was at the club for many years in Paul Robinson. In the dressing room, he is just going to be phenomenal, and he is that leader that I would say from a Birmingham perspective we've been missing. But we've been in and around each other, I think, in the league really for the past few months. And actually, I look back at our past 5 games, and it's really really close. I mean, Birmingham have had 2 losses against yourselves. We've also won 2. We drew 1. The draw actually was our last game at St Andrews in September with a 0-0. So we go in equal par, but also both teams fighting for their lives. It's going to be an interesting one. I understand that from a QPR perspective, am I right in thinking that it's expected to be quite a large crowd? Is it an incentive?
It's a sellout, yeah. I don't know what's happened really. We talk about it on our podcast, but Loftus Road has been full every game at home and away. Our support has been excellent. I don't know what's happened. Even when Gareth Ainsworth couldn't buy a goal, never mind a win at home, we were still selling out the stadium. And we've had about 4 or 5 sellouts in the last sort of 6 or 7 games. Rotherham being at home, the other one, which they don't sell out, their away end. So mate, it's a full house. We have what we're doing now is not giving teams the bottom tier. So we've got the bottom tier now. So it's annoying for away fans because it's not the greatest away end anyway. But just having the top. But it's good for us because it gives us, why would we give teams an advantage, really? If we can sell it out, I get the money if the rest of the stadium's not selling out to sell it to a big Birmingham end. But, we don't want to give teams the bigger, another advantage by having a packed 3,000-4,000 in there. So,
that's it, yeah.
So, yeah.
Totally get it. It's always loud and proud. I've been down to Loftus Road myself. I'll never forget it. Buying a seat, getting in the stadium, thinking, why have I got a metal rod right in front of me? It's like this is unreal. But no, it's always a good game, always a good atmosphere. So looking forward to it. I mean, we also look back over we mentioned the past 5 games, but over the history as well. We've had some players, and names that have crossed both teams that really really stand out. So a little bit of a challenge for you. I want to know if you can name 4 players that's actually played for both Birmingham and for QPR, whether that be loans or permanent signings, obviously over the many seasons. And then I'll run through some of the names that I've found, and some of them are probably fair to say before your time, but there's some good ones in there.
So you've obviously got Trevor Francis, the big one. That's the first one that comes to mind.
First on my list, incidentally.
Yeah. There's enough to just this season, right? You've got Tyler Roberts, you've got Ethan Laird, Dizel, you've got Sanderson in there.
Yep.
I want to give you some older ones that come to mind. Paul Furlong.
Paul Furlong, yeah, second on my list.
Yeah, Paul Furlong. Seaman, did he play for Birmingham? I've got a feeling he played. David Seaman, yeah.
You've actually named the first 3 on my list so far, so you're doing well.
Oh, really? God, this is where it stops now. I think. Who else is there? There's obviously loads, isn't there? Who else?
I mean, you've had defenders, goalkeeper, strikers, if these help in terms of names, and midfielders. I mean, some of them as well. There's some proper older players on there. Barry Bridges, for example, is one that is back in the day. Mike Kelly as well, going back a few years. But Nigel Quasi.
Oh, Nigel Quasi,
both
yeah.
clubs. Peter Ramage.
Peter Ramage, yeah.
Across both. Then you've got people like Marcus Bent, DJ Campbell. You know, again.
Oh, they've played for every club, haven't they?
Indeed. Goalkeeper Lee Camp.
Lee
Camp.
Camp.
He is one that forever in Birmingham's memories will be, renowned for coming in and people saying he's not the best, but actually he played fantastic for us in his.
He was the best keeper at being I can't describe it, at being bad, but just out of nowhere, you just get an absolute worldy save or performance. Yeah. Just that range, like last minute save. He wasn't too bad. He won't go down as the worst keeper in the world, but I don't think he'll go down as the best.
Another player linked with both clubs was Paul Pescasolido, who of course came over from Canada to Birmingham, then married chief exec as it was at the time, and then weirdly after that went out on loan and then was sold by the club. So he's passed over those times. But I mean, we've mentioned as well early doors there, but John Eustace, I know. Not necessarily, backroom staff and involvement, and his involvement was key, I think, in helping him secure his role at Birmingham. Actually, when he eventually did join us, and it was sad to see him move on. But we've progressed forward since then. So, a lot of decent links between the two clubs, and Paul Furlong, you mentioned there, I think he still holds the record at the club as goals to games ratio for Birmingham. It was phenomenal when he was.
What a goal scorer, eh? Outrageous.
Absolutely unreal. I think he was, his times at both of our clubs were probably his best. I know he went to Chelsea, which was the big one and the big move, but I don't think he really hit the ground running as much as what he did at our two clubs. And whilst it was the back end of his career at Birmingham, he was still phenomenal. He was an absolute beast when he was on that field, and I loved watching him play.
He was at the back end for us as well. I think he was like 30 something. So I don't know how good he was before then, but he was. Yeah, I think he got a big reason why we got promoted from in 2003 was because of his goals. Yeah, great player.
He just stood out, and I think it was
He's still at the club now. He's our under 23 coach.
Okay, he was because we know obviously his son's at West Brom, isn't he?
He came through. Yeah, he came through QPR.
He did.
He's got another son as well. Yeah.
So I mean, we go into, and we've spoke very briefly there, but going into Friday's game, it's massive for both clubs. I think it's fair to say that I don't want to say it's a season decider, but actually, they talk about the proverbial 6-pointer. This is a 9-pointer for both. So we're going into this off the back of very, very poor form. We haven't won in 6 now, and it wasn't looking rosy. We've got Rowett coming in. He seems to have reinvigorated the team a little bit, albeit that he's coming during international breaks. So some of them he hasn't even met until today and tomorrow. So it's going to be interesting on that front. But what's your expectation of Friday's game? Where do you think it will go? And ultimately, who do we need to watch out for as players?
Yeah, so I mean, the game's slightly different. I'd rather Rowett wasn't in charge because I think that he'll get you a bit more solid, and I don't know what he'll do, but I'd imagine it wouldn't be far from like a 4-4-2 or 4. But I just feel it'll have you a lot more solid, lot more difficult to break down and beat and get through. But that's a challenge, and also we don't really know what he's going to do. So Cifuentes, it's a challenge for him to know exactly how you're going to set up and what players are going to come in. QPR, we are better away from home than we are at home. So it being at home, it is an advantage. It doesn't feel like it to be a QPR fan because we're not great at home. Um, it just depends what QPR team turn up. Like we could be unbelievable. We played Leicester off the park a few weeks ago away from home. We beat them 2-1, comfortably. On Sky last week, a couple of weeks ago, we had West Brom. We somehow drew 2-2, but we literally had a goal off the line. We missed the penalty. We had. So I don't know how we didn't win that. So on our day, we could compete with anyone in the league comfortably. The issue we've got is that we don't score enough goals. We haven't got an out-and-out striker. We've got Sinclair Armstrong, who's a young Irish lad who's really good, big, powerful lad. He's a problem, but he can't get any run of games going, and he tends to be used at the second half of games because he's got his pace and power. Lyndon Dykes is awful. I don't know if he'll play. I hope not, but I don't know. He's been really bang out of form. And then we've got a big lad called Michael Frey, who we got in January. He's about 6'6", bold lad, bit of a battering ram. I think he'll play Saturday. So we're reliant heavily on the three behind him, who are Ilias Chair, Chris Willock, and we've got a new lad called Lucas Anderson, who's got Ginola-like hair. He's Scandinavian. He's very, very good, but he's just not fit. Yep. But he's been brilliant. I'm sure he'll play, and if he plays, that's good. So those three would be the ones to watch out for. I mean, we've got a really good team. We've got Isaac Hayden and sort of Jack Colback behind them in the centre midfield. Some real experience in there. And then you've got Steve Cook and Jake Clark-Salter centre back, who, we've barely conceded any goals. Right, literally, I'm not joking. We went away to Sunderland last weekend. They didn't have a shot on goal. Yep. But because we're so poor in front of goal, it ended up being 0-0. But so I'm expecting it to be whoever gets the first goal. I think could be pivotal. It could go either way. Again, flip of a coin. I wouldn't. If we get going, I think we'll be all right. But it's a bit of an unknown, isn't it?
It is, and we talk about ex-players there, but Clark-Salter was obviously at Birmingham on loan, and I would love to have signed him on a permanent deal. I think you've got a great little piece of business there because he had to be fit, he had to be playing, and when you're giving those
his issue,
he get it, and he was getting that at Birmingham, and then you managed to get him, and I think it was like I say, a great piece of business. But it's interesting what you say there about firstly, you're not being as good at home as what you are away. We're the opposite. So we are absolutely terrible away from home.
Oh God,
our away form is horrendous. Our home form obviously is not much better, but you can see that there's a fight and stuff that we've seen more at home. And yeah, it's going to be an interesting game. I think we don't know how he's going to set it up, let alone you guys.
I absolutely guarantee you, right, that Ethan Laird will have a game of his life, right? Because he got a bit of stick from the QPR fans when he was here. Because last season obviously ended really poorly, and his attitude was really poor, and he turned into 1 minute he was the best right back in the league, the next minute he couldn't do anything. I don't know what happened to him.
It's I bet you he has a good game. That is though. That's exactly how he has been at Birmingham. When he's been on it, he is phenomenal. And then he'll have just a total off game where you think to yourself, where's this come from? He was brilliant last game. Now look at him now. I've got to say though, he's a firm fan's favourite, and I know the QPR fans turned against him, but I'm guessing at one point they were the same as us, which was actually loved his attitude. He
was brilliant. We were top of the league at one point, and he was pivotal to that. He was excellent, and then all of a sudden Beale left, and his attitude he was like shrugging his shoulders. He would just half-hearted tackles that would end up leading to goals and stuff like that. And so I can guarantee he'll have a 10 out of 10. I read that Tyler Roberts hasn't scored a goal yet for you. I can absolutely guarantee that he'll probably score. On ex-players coming back to Loftus Road seem to score every other week. It's a nightmare.
I mean, Tyler Roberts has taken a lot of stick since he's been at Birmingham.
Well, he's never fit, is he?
He's not fit. He got injured. He was out for a while, and then he's come back and he's been fringe. Then he's had a couple of goods where he's come off the bench where he's looked pretty sturdy, and then again, similar to what you mentioned about Laird, it kind of just peters away. So we're waiting for that one spark that either kickstarts him or, as horrible as it is, it'll end his time at Birmingham. We just don't know which way it's going to go. I'm desperately hoping. I'd love to see nothing more than him to score goals, not necessarily against yourself being an old team, but
he will
just come in and score. But we don't know about our team moving forwards. Anyhow, we've got a depleted strike force. Players out injured galore. Obviously, people coming back off international duty, we don't know how fresh they're going to be. But also, with Juki in the last game, he's a complete workhorse and he doesn't stay down.
Well, thank God he's out.
Yeah, it's
horrible. I was quite thankful he's out.
Because you put anything in the air to him, and you can almost guarantee he's going to put it away. So it's going to be a miss. But looking at it, like I say, I don't know how Rowett's going to set it out. I think we will be hard to break down. That is the one thing that him and Robbo will bring to the team, is both being ex-defenders themselves. They're going to make it hard to get past. But actually, it's about us scoring. We need to be in a position where we're gonna get a goal, because we need 3 points coming from somewhere, and obviously you can't get 3 points without scoring a goal. So we've got to look at taking that forwards and being stronger and harder to beat, but also having that knack of scoring the odd few goals that are just going to come off somebody's backside, or a fluke off the post that then it's a goalkeeper and goes in. We've got to form those opportunities. So give me your prediction then. You've said it's going to be tough. What's your head say? What's your heart say?
I think it'll be a draw. I said on our pod yesterday, I think it will be I think it's pivotal that we don't lose the game. We can't lose it. A draw is not great, but the alternative is to lose, which we can't definitely do. So I'd go 1-1. 1-1.
That was actually, I will say, was my prediction on our show on Monday as well. Was that I thought we'd come down and we'd get a 1-1. It'd be a tough game for both clubs. But hopefully it's then moving forwards into the next round of games, which come very, very quickly, especially over this Easter period, where we see the difference. And I desperately hope that you get away from it, we get away from it, because I still believe that there are 3 worse teams than ourselves in the league.
Yeah, I worry about Plymouth and Blackburn. I think if you could get ahead of them, I think you'll be all right. But it's just getting ahead of them. But I look at Blackburn's fixtures and I think they look horrendous. Plymouth are on a horrendous run, and they can't win away or at home at the moment. So I think if you can get above those 2 teams, I think you'll be all right. But it's just that they're still good 2, 3, 4 points off, aren't they? So
you mentioned the Blackburn now. Blackburn obviously with John Eustace there now haven't won a game since he's been there.
No.
Their running is horrendous. They're playing the teams that are fighting for not just an automatic position, but they did playoffs as well. So I don't think they've got any teams in and around them. It's
tough.
Really horrible running. So, and that's one thing that I kind of take away from it, is I think we've got teams around us. They haven't. So we hopefully can scrap away and get some results, albeit at our games against the teams around us are all away from home. So that's the only thing and the only downside for me. Yeah, yourselves, we've got Rotherham still to play away from home. So it's Huddersfield away from home. It's all tough. And if we can't scrape away, it's going to be a horrible end of season. But I'm just hoping we can have enough. And like I say, both teams get it over the line.
We've got Sheffield Wednesday at home next week. We've got Plymouth away and Swansea away. The next 4 games are going to be real. We're probably going to know a lot more after that. But
let's hope.
Let's see where we go.
Exactly, and let's just hope we can get to the end of it. We can all turn around and say, do you know what? Looking forward to them games next season. And that's the way to kind of look forwards. We're not looking towards the teams that are going to be down in Div 1. We want to be Championship, and we want both teams ultimately to strive to go forward. So I want to look to build towards the future. I want to see what our new owners are going to bring with the promises they seem to be taking forwards, and be an interesting one if we can both survive.
Yeah, I mean, we've been there with promises from owners, and it's tough, mate. It's tough getting up out of this league.
It's the way, everybody talks about the Premier League being tough and everything else, but actually, the Championship is a nice division when you've got teams in and around you that you can go week in, week out, you can get results and you can see good games of football and you can never predict. The Premier League to me is it's all about the top 5, 6, and then all about the bottom 3. There's nothing else in between. It's hard to predict, and then unfortunately the teams that get relegated have got such financial push with the payments they get for parachute. It's ridiculous, and that's why the teams that are in and a half the top of our league at the moment are those that have been relegated. That's why they're fighting where they are. It's unfair on teams like ourselves.
You look at Hull. Really, they're rolling the dice. They'll have a season of spending and bringing in the big players, but they won't be able to do it for long. That's it, isn't it?
It is, and we don't want to be in the position where we've both been. You had those hefty fines, and we've had the points deductions. We want to stay well away from it. Similar with yourselves, actually. This season, FFP has been our downfall, but we should see some differences in the summer. And I think big earners dropping off the wage books and players moving on because they're out of contract should free up some space for us to do stuff. So, but look, as always, thank you very much for sparing us the time and running through the preview of the upcoming game. I hope at the end of the day that we're both coming away with smiles on our faces rather than being disgruntled. So I think a draw is going to be fair. My head says a draw. My heart says I'd love to come away with 3 points and really start it running with Rowett, but we'll see. You can never predict with Birmingham. Thank you again for all of your time. Really much appreciated.
No worries.
As I'll always sign off with everybody else, it's as Birmingham say, keep right on, and thank you very much.
Cheers, mate. Cheers. Bye.